You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 37 of Teach Better Talk. I am Ray Hewart, and as always, I'm with the amazing Jeff Gargis.
I got amazing today, huh?
You're amazing, Jeff. You're amazing. And I know that we say this every time, but we have so much in store for this episode with the incredible educator that we are welcoming on today. But, I mean, before we get to all the fun, we'll first start by asking you, Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome, Ray. I mean, I'm on the road right now with the one and only Chad Ostrowski. He's sitting just a few feet from me.
A few feet? Wow.
Just a few feet. I know, it's like I'm in the presence of greatness. We are on the road. We're in Southwest Ohio, around near Dayton, Ohio, training with some amazing teachers for the next couple of days, and then spending some time visiting some other amazing teachers. So I don't go on the road as much anymore, so it's a lot of fun when I get to. So I'm super excited to this, and then now I get to sit down and do some podcast interviews, and we get to talk with an awesome educator that we met this past summer, which was really cool. Now to get to have him on the podcast. So Chuck Taft is a social studies teacher, middle school, from Wisconsin, and he described himself as a Midwestern guy, and I think that's a great definition because he's just a nice guy. Like, you just have a blast when you can just sit there and just talk to him about anything and everything. Something really, really cool is that Chuck is the mastermind behind Summer Spark up in Wisconsin. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but you and I were both there this past June, and it's just a phenomenal conference. Really excited to just dive into his world and talk to him about what he refers to as the O blood type of education, and his love for professional development. So we're going to definitely dive in and have a good time here today. So Chuck, really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy day, man, and hanging out with us and talking with us. How are you feeling?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks to both of you for inviting me. I'm glad I didn't have conferences tonight, like I had to cancel a couple weeks ago. But no, I'm excited, and it was great to meet you guys this summer as well in beautiful Milwaukee.
Oh, it was so fun coming to hang out in your, humble abode, your beautiful building, your school for Summer Spark was just one of our favorite times this summer, getting all together and hanging out with everybody. But, Chuck, Jeff gave you a great introduction. I know there's a lot to say about all the amazing things you've been able to do in your career so far, but there's no way you can fit it all in one question when someone says, "Hey, Chuck, what do you do for a living?" So how in the world do you respond to that?
I usually respond with, I do stand-up comedy. It's kind of a stand-up comic's dream because I have a captive audience that has to laugh. So I also have a red pen and, the power of the grade book. I tell people I start with stand-up comedy, and then I say, no, actually, I get to teach 8th graders about America's story, which is, and about civics. And then I usually get I always hated history class, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, but you got to come to my class because we try to make it fun. It's a pleasure to teach 8th graders. And I always tell students or teachers and parents that I kind of like to teach 8th graders because it kind of hits my maturity level. I kind of peaked when I think it was 14. So I haven't really left it. So, I get to do what I love to do. And not everybody gets to say that. I really think teachers are the only people who get to say that a lot. So yeah, that's kind of how I fill it in. And then I try to tell as many stories as I can about the classroom.
Love it. I love your passion for what you do and the fact that you do love what you do. A lot of people say that, and you can kind of see right through it. But I tell you, man, like 2 to 3 minutes just chatting with you, and there's no doubt that you actually truly mean it when you say that you love what you do, and you feel fortunate to do it. So I love it. So I want to talk to you about just sort of. I want to talk to you about failure. Something that I talk a lot about. Just my, the fact that I've always been fortunate enough to fail a lot because I learned from all those failures. So can you kind of take us to a time that you failed and sort of tell us what happened? Why was it a failure to you in your eyes? How did you overcome it? And then what did you take away from that experience?
Yeah, and I'm glad you posed that question because when I was thinking about it, I'm sort of, I think, a failure-phobe. I don't know if that's a word, but it is now. TM Taft. Because that's honestly one of my biggest fears is failure. and I do like to take risks, but a lot of times they're calculated. But recently, this is something I don't think I failed at, but I haven't succeeded yet. So I'm kind of in the middle. But I've really made a push to get rid of letter grades first in my classroom and then in our middle school. And I've just a variety of reasons for doing it. I mean, my biggest thing, the reason why I love teaching middle schoolers and the reason why I love teaching is because I love to learn. And learning is the coolest thing we can do. It separates us from being an inanimate object. And when we put letter grades in front of kids and dangle them out there and parents, they're looking for the letter and not the learning. So I've done the research and I've done the reading and, taking a look at all the literature. And I've been, for the last 4 years, been using targets, learning targets or standards for assessment and for feedback. And I was tasked by our middle school head to try to do it for the entire middle school. So I convened a whole bunch of meetings and did more research, and most of the middle school is on board, most of our middle school faculty. And so this end of this semester here, we're all giving letter grades. And kids are asking for letter grades and parents are asking for letter grades. So I'm not there yet. I haven't succeeded. And what I've realized, what I learned from this is I might have all the rationale and all the great arguments to do something like getting rid of letter grades. But what I didn't do is I didn't have the alternative. I didn't have a finished model that could work in my class and every other class. So that's my next goal. Again, like I said, I don't think it's a failure, but I've learned that I needed to not only do the background research on why make the change, but I needed to find out what to change to. And that's something that's kind of went right over my head. I also realized that I can convince myself no problem, but it's going to take a longer time to convince students and parents with something that is so ingrained in their educational experience. So it's still a work in progress. I definitely don't consider it a success. But I have also found out through the failure that I've kept on going and trying, and this is my educational hill that I'm going to die on. And then luckily, I found a gem of an online seminar today that Ray is hosting about standards-based grading. So now I've got my another weapon in my arsenal to try to succeed in this area that I think is really, really important, especially in middle school.
Gosh, isn't that so funny that all came together with me trying to help, right? Come on, Chuck, I love helping you.
I think it was kind of like Facebook was kind of watching me, and then all of a sudden, the new Facebook ad came up, but it was your face about standards-based grading or something. Seriously, I got the email from Chad today, and I was looking around for a camera going, what's going on here? But, it is a, and I'm glad that you're passionate about it, Ray, because you preach the good news as well. And it is something that I think more and more and more schools want to go to and teachers want to go to, but I'm convinced that they should, especially in our world in the middle school, because the letter grade means absolutely nothing and it takes kids nowhere. The learning stops when the letter goes on. So that's what I'm excited to try to turn that non-success into a success. That's what keeps pushing me.
It's funny, Chuck, Tiffany Ott and I just went live on Facebook to talk about standard-based grading. And one of the big pieces we focused on is, even if you don't want to change grading, even if you don't believe that a different system would make students or help students be more successful, the whole purpose is just to really give them more authentic feedback. And if that's your driver, if that's your focus, magic can happen. So I love that you're pursuing this. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And that is my goal. It's, to give a student a letter for an entire semester is kind of like summarizing an entire summer in a single picture. Which, if you can summarize an entire summer in a single picture, you had a really lousy summer.
Yeah, no kidding.
So we want to give them as much feedback as possible to allow them to grow and also to push for improvement. Because if you're grading for an entire semester and a kid has a bad September, well, and they have an awesome December, those things average out. I want the kids to have that awesome December and keep giving them feedback so they keep pushing for better and better and better. So like I said, it's a work in progress. But Ray, I'm glad I have you as an awesome resource.
I'm glad that that's the story you picked. I love that you chose that because it's something that you're reflecting on consistently right now before you're even done with that journey. So you're already reflecting. You're already looking at, okay, where did I go well? Where did I go a little bit short at? What do I have to do? And you're just constantly adjusting that and moving and growing yourself. I love that. That's a really cool story. So now, Chuck, let's flip it. Let's go the other way around. Let's talk about a successful moment you've had. And this can be something big or small, but tell us what happened. Why was it a success for you? And then what did you take away from that moment?
The one I picked was something that my teaching partner, we call it a hashtag promance. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Another TM, Taft Walzak on this. But I have the pleasure of teaching next door to Lori Walzak, who was an 8th grade English teacher, and she's amazing. And we had a big schedule change at our school about 4 years. And at the same time, we had talked about, we need to merge our curriculums. We need to teach together. So we kind of blew up our curriculum and developed an American Studies interdisciplinary course, which is not revolutionary or new in any sense of the matter. Schools do it all over. But for us, it was new. And we were taking a risk, taking a leap. I was taking a huge risk because I like to do things my way. And she knows that. And it's been a good professional development for me to I can give in a little, which is nice. But it's been fantastic. We actually, not only did we knock down the wall in our curriculum, we knocked down the wall between our two rooms, and we have a 7-foot door that we call the American Studies portal that we can travel in and out of, because sometimes we're teaching side by side. And it's it's not a perfect curriculum, but it keeps getting better and better and better. We think kids love having a double dose, and they can make these authentic connections between what happens in the past and the written word. And now we say that we're not teaching American history, we're not teaching American literature, we're teaching America's story, and we're telling it through stories. And it's awesome because we can connect it to our Washington, D.C. trip. And we connect, we're using graphic novels and poetry and short stories and prose and literature, while also still hitting some great aspects of American history. We can use it for character development. I got a huge sign in my room with big ideas and life lessons that we get out of literature and history. And it also is important. I think other schools should do it, especially in the middle school. Because social studies, I mentioned at the start, and you mentioned it too, Jeff, that I feel my discipline, social studies, is kind of like the O blood type. Mm-hmm. It's the universal donor. We can do anything. You can do math, you can do science, you can do, fine arts, anything with social studies. But it's getting cut, or minutes are getting cut a lot because of standards, and in some cases it was Common Core. So an interdisciplinary approach is perfect, because social studies is all about the written word, critical analysis, developing and defending arguments, investigating sources, applying what's learned to the real world, and that's what our combination curriculum is allowing kids to do. And it's cool too, because there are kids who dig liberal arts, but there's some who are more the history and they don't like the English, and some that are more the English and don't like the history. And we're kind of merging it so they like them both together. And that's really been a huge success. We're not done yet, but we're really pleased with how it's gone. And the kids really, it's about doing what's best for kids, and the kids love it. So that's plus it's great to have a teacher that I can be real successful and do it with my promance.
Hey, what's up? It's Jeff. Don't worry, we're going to get right back to the episode, but I really want to check out and make sure that you are connected with us on social media. Ray and I and the entire Teach Better team want to connect with you. We want to hear your stories. We want to be a part of your journey. We want to be there to support you in any way we can, and we want to learn and grow with you. So please connect with us. Everything we have is at Teach Better Team. And then, of course, make sure you connect with me at Jeff Gargas and Ray at Ray Hewart. Let's get back to the episode.
Chuck, something I continue to love about you, whether it's in person that we're talking or now, is you have an inability to not focus on your students. Like, you have to constantly relate everything to them. And I love that about you. I mean, whether you're talking about a quote unquote failure of, not being able to grade to give them the most efficient and effective feedback, or you're talking about your success of being able to really reach them in new innovative ways with with like the teachers that you work with. I mean, how powerful is it to live in a world where you are so dedicated to your students that throughout every moment, whether it be a high or a low, you're trying to figure out how to reach them better. I think that's so powerful, and I really am hoping, I'm eager to continue to see teachers have this approach. Whether they're switching to standard-based grading, at least I'm seeing a huge uptick in educators passionate about finding solutions and not just being complacent in their job, but eager to grow. And that's getting me not only excited about education, but this is just why I love chit-chatting with you. So I kind of want to turn that back on you. What's getting you excited about education these days outside of all the fabulous things that you're doing?
Well, there's the one thing that I think one of the major changes I made, and it's actually a visible change. It's another huge sign I put in my room this year. It's about 12 feet across. My 4 words that I've been focusing on this year more than ever in American Studies, and my teacher partner does, is why does it matter? And that all comes down to why does it matter and why should it matter to our kids? Again, teaching 8th grade American history or America's story, you get the always, oh, I always hated history. I didn't like remembering dates. It was one war after another. It was very boring to me. I don't know why I had to learn it. And those 4 words are they're almost the exit ticket to my class every day. And kids, I'll always say to kids, all right, well, we took a look at the Emancipation Proclamation the other day, and I ended up with, all right, gang, so why? And they all said, does it matter? And we dig into why should they learn about it? And that's what's really exciting me. Being in an independent school, I can do that. I don't have to worry about all these specific content standards. I can try to get kids to really appreciate the events that happened in the past and the people from the past, and relate it to their lives, and relate it to the news, and relate it to current events. And it's not just the content, but it's also the skills that we're developing when it comes to recognizing bias in the news, or when it comes to being able to craft a really great argument with a claim and support it with evidence and then utilize reasoning. When it comes to even, not taking tests, and instead giving kids 3 learning targets, and instead of saying, hey, you're going to have a test on these 3 learning targets, saying, hit these targets any way you can, and giving them the opportunity to be creative in any method they want, because that's what they're going to do, right? They're not going to, I always say, you're not going to have to memorize dates in order to get a job. The only job that you have to memorize dates to get is Jeopardy champion. So, I mean, not even a history professor needs to memorize dates. So that those 4 words, why does it matter, has not only really excited me, but more importantly, what's excited me is that the kids have really taken into it. And they're, we're studying the Civil War right now, and the entire thing about Confederate monuments, and being in the North and being in Wisconsin, how there's different perspectives on everything, and we don't see the challenges to Confederate monuments as much, but it is such a national issue. They can realize that, oh yeah, this does matter. Learning about the motivations of Union and Confederate soldiers, well, that matters because there's a link to today. But I don't teach the War of 1812 much anymore because it really is hard to get it to relate to kids and to relate to our world right now. So, but it's, as I babble on about it, that's what's really excited me, because mostly I get energized, but kids get energized. And if they can bring up something that's in the news, I think I win, because it means that they're actually looking at the news and relating it to class.
Gosh, I don't think I've ever in my life been so excited about social studies as I am right this moment. I mean, seriously. And
I got to tell you that Kristen Zimke, I got to see her this summer at ISTE, and she quoted one of her, I forgot, I apologize for forgetting her mentor's name, but she gave me this phrase that resonates. It's, the world is handing us our curriculum. And when I was in 8th grade back, when we were writing on slate in the 80s, if you think about it, the world was handing us our curriculum. When I was in 8th grade, we were in the middle of the Cold War. This was like prime, discussion topics that was real world. but we didn't do that because it wasn't in the textbook. But now, because of technology and because of access to media, maybe too much, and thanks to our current administration, the world is handing us our curriculum. And it's amazing the connections that you can make to any social studies class, whether it's civics, economics, world geography, ancient history. But I'm the lucky one. I get to teach America's story. And it's every day. It's awesome.
Well, and Chuck, I think that phrase, the world is handing us our curriculum, applies to every single content area. While social studies, I agree with, math, the fact that I've been able to work with teachers about designing theme internships sponsored by local businesses, that is literally our community echoing the need for our instruction. So use it. Don't just read page by page in the textbook and assume that your students are going to make the connections that are relevant to their world. You are so speaking my language, Chuck. I want to be in your classroom. You should just know that. I want to be in your classroom.
Doors always open, Ray.
Oh man, so fun.
But you're right too, because even an example is in our science program in our 8th grade here, actually in our entire middle school, they focus on fresh water.
Right.
Being in a Great Lakes state, we have an abundance of fresh water, but it's not always going to be that way. And we have a great freshwater science program at a local university. That's relative. That's relative to today. Our English classes are trying to get more and more and more diverse reading and diverse genres of reading, because that matters to kids, but also our country is obviously becoming more and more and more diverse. When we look at PE, we look at people going more time to lifetime sports for a lot of PE courses. And with art, we have everything from a makerspace and using technology for art, to the fine arts, to digital music, to we have a world drumming class, and other schools have that as well. But it's not we are, thankfully, and we do as an educational society, we need to move away from the drill and kill and move away from the going through, it's chapter 12, section 1, answer the questions out of the back of the book. And that's the dinosaurs. We need to make things relevant to kids, and that's what will make them excited about learning. And that's the coolest thing. When they get all excited about learning, it's like, whoa, that's why I get paid the big bucks.
So Chuck, this is when we turn to our listeners and say, all right, guys, if you're listening right now, if you could take anything from this podcast, take away, why does your content matter? Make sure you're spreading that message to your students loud and clear every single day.
Absolutely. That would be my 4-word mantra.
Very powerful. Well, Chuck, I have to tell you, I have a question for you that I was very excited to ask you specifically, because when we were able to spend time in Summer Spark, I loved learning with you throughout that entire few-day PD, and this was one I knew would be a good one for you to answer. And I want to ask you, what advice do you have for new teachers? Because you have incredible energy, incredible passion, incredible grit, truly, for what you're doing. And I want to make sure that this is spreading to all of our future teachers, all of our newer teachers. Whether they're new in the field just a year or a few years in, what type of advice do we need to give our educators?
You already hit on it, Ray, I think, and I did too as well, but it's about the kids. It really is. If you're a kindergarten teacher, it's about those 5-year-olds. I'm an 8th grade teacher. It's about these 13 and 14-year-old, animals that I get to mold into young women and men. If you're if you're teaching AP physics to seniors, you're still teaching kids. We don't teach content, we teach kids. And that's the number one thing that I would always suggest to any teacher getting in the business or young. It's about the kids, and don't ever forget that, because that's why we got into it. It's a huge responsibility, but it's a huge pleasure to make a difference in the lives of young people. And not a lot of people can say that they have that chance to mold young people. It's teachers and coaches. Sometimes employers, but it's teachers and coaches. And it's a tough job, and it gets more difficult as our world changes, and there's a lot of things that are pulling kids each way, but it's totally worth it as long as you keep your eyes on the prize, and the prize in teaching is the kids, without a doubt.
I love it. We don't teach content, we teach kids. It's a very, very important message. Chuck, not just the new teachers, but all teachers in general, to continue to remember how important your job is and what you do and the impact that you have. So Now I'm going to flip a challenge to you here. We're going to do the next 6 questions, but you only got 15 seconds or less to answer each.
All right.
You ready to roll?
I am ready to roll.
All right, man. Here we go. What is one ed tech tool you cannot live without?
Well, I was going to say Nearpod and Pull Everywhere, but within the last 2 class periods, I've used this thing called GimKit, GIMKIT. If you haven't used it, do it. It's Kahoot on steroids. And after 5 classes of it, every class said, let's do it again. Easy.
Loving it. Give us a book that you're reading right now.
The Inquiry Design Model book from National Council of the Social Studies to try to get more inquiry and asking questions, guided questions and inquiry-based lessons in social studies.
And who should we follow on Twitter right now?
Easy. Michael Matera. At Mr. Matera. He's my colleague. He's my close friend. He is a gamification expert. He is an engagement guru. He's the man to follow.
And what's the best YouTube channel or website for educators?
I'll give you a YouTube channel that I don't know if a lot of people know about. It's Real Rap with Reynolds. A guy named CJ Reynolds from Philly. He's a high school English teacher, but he is just authentic and inspirational. His message is one that I could listen to over and over and over. And if you're ever having one of those bad days, pop on Real Rap with Reynolds, and he'll remind you why you do what you do.
I love it. That is one we have never heard before. I love it. So give us one daily, weekly, or monthly routine that every teacher should get into.
I would definitely go with using social media for professional development on your timeline as a way to benefit you. But also, I would tell them that they need to read for enjoyment, spend time with their family and friend, and make sure they exercise.
Love it. And what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I think it's you can't be perfect in every lesson and every day. But if you try your hardest and you care about kids, everything's going to work out.
That's awesome. I have loved all of your insights today, Chuck, and I want to make sure that everybody listening has the opportunity to connect with you because, gosh, it is totally worthwhile. Would you mind sharing all of the contact information so that our listeners can really ensure this conversation does not end here?
You got it. I'd appreciate that. On Twitter, I'm at Chuck Taft, no spaces. And I do have an Instagram, but I don't use it as much because it's mostly for my classroom, but it's at American History Rules. I have a classroom website, AmericanHistoryRules.com, and a blog that I go hot and cold on, which is called SocialStudiesOutLoud.com. And then I got a bunch of YouTube channels of mostly classroom stuff. But the real thing I'd love for people to do is they could also follow Summer Spark or hashtag USM Spark on Twitter and come to Milwaukee, Wisconsin in June for an awesome 2 days of getting together and connectating, I call it, and creating and innovating. It's a really cool conference. Thank you guys for pubbing it as well. I hope to see you again there. But those are some places that I can be found, and or I can be found watching Detroit Lions and Detroit Tigers on TV.
And you can find all those links and all the resources that we talked about with Chuck today over at teachbetter.com, as well as those really important links for connecting with him and for Summer Spark, because you absolutely need to get there. It's a great conference. I'm really looking forward to it again this summer. So we'll have all those links and everything for you over at teachbetter.com in the show notes. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. And if you can give us a rating and review, we'd really appreciate that as well. Chuck, really appreciate your time, man, all your insight, your passion, and your love for what you do. It is unmatched and unbelievable, and we really appreciate you taking some time and hanging out with us, man.
Well, thanks to both of you. I really, really appreciate it. It's a great time of year to do it. The semester's ending, but I still got a lot that I want to get done, so it's great to talk about teaching always.
Awesome. And until next time, let's get out there and let's teach better.